sir. Back up in this thing. But yo, yeah, how was the day though, man? How was your
I didn't have the day off.
I don't know, man.
I was at the store today, so it's pretty dead.
Okay,
Nothing else.
okay, okay.
Nothing else to say except it was a dead fucking day. That was about it.
I
Um, yeah. Well, made the
just
money.
the holiday. I mean, yeah, that's what matters. If you get paid regardless, you get paid regardless. Nah, bro, like it's one of them ones where I earlier in the morning I missioned out to the grocery store. Sorry. And yeah, bro, she was closed. She's closed for the holiday. I said, "Oh no." Had a mission right back. I was like, "Yo," but it's not even like when you go online and you check and it says like, "Oh, holiday may affect hours." That should be the same as that. It should just say close if that's the case. You know what I mean? Like,
I
but
agree.
what are you gonna do? What are you
Literally, that was most of my phone calls today. Was, are you guys open? Hey, you guys open?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, although you can make the silly voice, but it's like, bro, that's the bullshit. Because it's like the website might be saying like, oh, that you're open, but then you get there and it's closed. Like it said that the hours were what the hours were. It's just said that the holiday might affect them. It didn't say that it's closed, and it could have saved me a solid like however much time, right?
I agree, but that's Google for you.
That's the thing. That's why it's like I totally get the motherfuckers who like the customers who be calling up. Oh, are y'all open? Because that's what it is, bro. But beyond that, going to and from like wherever you're going in this city, like especially if you're taking any type of public transit, you're not in your whip, bruh. You're bound to see the most in just an array of characters, bro. And it's like it's a beautiful thing, but then you think to yourself like, where do these people be going after they get off the bus or get off the subway or get off the like? I mean, logically, like somewhere, someone might be like, "Oh, yo, you're just going home or going to work or whatever." But it's like when you think about it, it's like, yo, so many different people. Like the fact that there's so many different people, like, and everybody has their own low reality, bro. It's just it makes you think. Because one guy was talking on the subway, Trent, like going in on his cell phone, like on some intense type stuff, and then he got off the subway in a hurry, and I'm like, oh shoot, this guy must be like it's real. Whatever's happening with this guy, it's extra real. And then it's like just in the sense of like what you see when people are like all passionate in a public transit or public area. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking for there's a word to describe that feeling you're going through right here. I'm just having to find it right here. I just gotta read through this
Yeah,
thing,
man.
unfortunately.
Check it out,
Mm,
man. That's what it is. Try to find out the word for it. But yeah, man. It's one of those things. And if it's not like seeing somebody go through like a like being all like hysterical about something, it's just it could be somebody on a like you might just see somebody flat out just sleeping. And it doesn't mean it's not any type of judgment because they're not necessarily like quote unquote homeless or anything like that. Like they might be wearing a fresh ass outfit or whatever as far as like perception goes. And then they're just chilling, sleeping, and you're like, bro, you're gonna miss your stop, motherfucker. But it's just funny. But anyway.
So so the word it's a very like it's just an obscure word, but it's sonder. The realization that each passerby has a life as vivid and complex as your own.
See,
That's what that is.
I was gonna say, but see, and I wasn't even looking at it like as far as like to be defined because I was looking at it more of a. It's just funny to think that we all have different realities. It's not even about saying like, yo, like this guy's because again, like as I was just kind of expressing, Buddy was just one guy was just on a phone passionately, another dude was just sleeping, and I was thinking like, yo, you gonna miss your stop, but it's one of those things. I mean, I enjoy it because it's something that like not every city has as far as like some people like it's so like everybody's just uniform it seems like certain places like in certain Japan or China or certain other places like that, but here where everyone's a little bit more free as far as like destination wise, it's something to observe, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I could say the same about the customers coming to my store, but that's one thing. Yeah, it's definitely different being in a big city and like riding public transit and just seeing all like the characters that ride that as well too. But where I live right downtown here, and that's where all the stuff like all the bad stuff is happening and whatnot. And you see everything. You see all walks of life around here. So it's very interesting to say the least. Some nights.
That's what it is, bruh. Uh, there's the what is it called? Like I'm trying to think of it. It's like in Toronto, like a big region, like I don't know, like it's I guess there's different parts in the city where like people like set up shop, so to speak, as far as like where there's different markets or whatever the case is, but it's just like little hubs of I don't want to call it necessarily like little boroughs or whatever, as if it was like New York or whatever, but it's just like just places where
Little
people like
neighborhood.
because it's like you still have little neighborhoods, but it's like they have like I don't know, like Chinatown, Greek, little Portugal, little Italy, stuff like that, right?
Ethnic enclaves.
It, how whatever the word is for it, more or less. But yeah, like it's dope to see because when you go in these different little areas, bro, and you like experience the food or the different like go to different bakeries or check out the different like whether it's different little churches or things that they have built in what seems to be like their architecture, like that's dope too, man. I mean, diversity, like, because we're talking about like I guess people as individuals, but then when you think about it more like kind of, although it's all a melting pot, but then we think about the even like the smaller like tribes within it, like it's kind of dope, man. Like it, especially in a city like this, because like although every city may not have it, well, they may have it, but it might not be to like every city might not have like a Chinatown, for example, or a Little Italy or something like that. But you see like the different areas, or even sometimes it might just be a store or two of a culture and what they're about, whether it's a bakery or just different types of clothing that their culture may make, and that's what they sell in that store. Like it's kind of dope to see, man.
I was staying in the like a Jewish portion of the town when I was there last weekend. Like we were right next door to a synagogue. There
Okay.
was we took a ride out past like in around the neighborhood, and there were so many like Hebrew schools and like synagogues and stuff, and they're massive, like fucking huge. And it's just like, oh wow, like well, like you were
Yeah.
saying about the architecture and whatnot, right? Like it was just
Yeah.
like this is incredible, like just in this part of the city or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see how these things like that has to be at least 100 years old, maybe even more, maybe
Yeah.
even less, who knows. So like just interesting to see that like these things stand the test of time and keep like going on, as opposed to like there's a lot of places through here where I can drive through and you see, oh, that used to be an old church, now it's somebody's house, or that used to be an old, you know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of that. There's a lot of that as well too. So it's just interesting. It's just interesting, like you said, the neighborhoods and how they're set up, and all of a sudden like you're, oh, I'm in a new neighborhood, and all of a sudden it's like, someone else's neighborhood, basically. It's just like just a different flavor.
It's like yeah, it's like an immediate. But that's the thing. It's the fact that it's almost depending on where you are. It's almost an immediate change. Like whether it's from like the people you see outside walking around or whatever. Like, and it's good because it's like if you're within that community, it's like you're building and it's thriving and things of that nature. But then it can be looked at the other way in the sense of if others were not welcomed. Not saying that is the case in most places, because most places, man, when you go there, like you can just go whether it's a fish market, anything, like you can just go to different places. But it's just it's sometimes there can be like a I don't even know, like not like a stigma or a stereotype, but like it can be like where you might just kind of give off like a aura where it's just like, oh, I don't want this person, I don't want that person. And it's strange because you think as you're building up in this community and trying to have it thrive, bro, like you think that you want the most business, or you want like, especially if it's you come with an understanding that it's a multicultural place. So like to try to not invite everybody would kind of, it wouldn't really seem like right, so to speak, you know? I don't know. It's just there's little things that you know, like little things you notice that are good and bad when you have certain sectors within a city that are different cultures too, even though the whole city's multicultural and like everybody's everywhere, so to speak.
It's one thing to have like these separate neighborhoods and like, oh, they like, oh, the Korean people stay, like they generally congregate around this part of town because that's where all their people are and they feel comfortable, all that, and they can speak their language and blah, 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 blah. It's another
Yeah.
thing to say nobody can go there except these people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, facts.
It's quite a different thing. I'm
It's just,
very glad that most of these places are welcome and open to like just like everybody to come and experience these things because that's how they make money and that's how they stay afloat and whatnot. And as far as I've experienced, no like side eye glances even at me or anything like that. So I don't know. I get a lot of side eye glances at fucking stores up around here. So there you go.
no, and that's the thing. Because it's, and don't get me wrong, it's not even so that, like, as much to do about like a certain person, like, because it's that's why I was trying to stray away from like saying like it's like a race thing, but it's more of just depending on where you are, like people have their people still have their biases in a sense, or their perceptions, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
depending on where you are, or although times are changing, like it's you see that a lot of these, although like the older people maybe have like certain customs, you might see like some of the younger generations within certain cultures, they don't care, like they mesh, everything flows together and whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man, but
Something
you know
I'm
what I
really
mean?
gonna sorry, that's something I give like the younger generation, like the next generation below us a lot credit for. Like they have a lot, like they're way fucking farther advanced with like all like not just like compassion and empathy and stuff like that, but like woke is like a shorthand for all that, but like they know, like they didn't have to go through all like this learning process as much as they know. Like they can't, they did, but it was like it was different. And a lot
Yeah.
of what I've heard from like people saying like, yeah, this next generation, they're really fucking smart. Like they're really smart and they've got all their shit together in the right areas and they're fearless. So props to them.
Yeah, it's but to a degree, right? I mean, I'm looking at it from a standpoint, Trent, where if as long as they're parents, right? Because it's like in anything, whether it's cultures that start to build up in a city, like or if it's from a standpoint of like when you're at home, it's all to do with the upbringing. Because for example, if you have a business and you're taught to always welcome customers, things of that nature, bro, like no matter what the situation is, even if somebody doesn't have money, you're gonna welcome them into your store because they might just need a place to chill when it's raining out or something like that, opposed to telling them, hey, you don't have any money, get hurry up or get out of my store, or whatever the case is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even not even on like I guess I don't know. It just comes down to, because obviously no home's perfect, but it's like it comes down to, I guess, how decent you were raised. And it sucks that it has to be like that within more or less all aspects of life, because it's like everyone can be, we can all like afford to be selfish, but then when you talk about like building communities within a city, or just building like starting from your own home outward, like yeah, man, shit can get real, like because you want to, I guess they're saying, or one's perspective might be like to want to integrate and be within everybody's society, so that you're not like ostracizing yourself or your family, especially if you come to a new area, you just moved to a neighborhood, Trent, and you tell your kids don't play with those kids or don't blah blah blah. You would think it'd be the opposite, because you'd want your kids to feel welcome, versus, you know what I mean, getting shunned. My dad says don't play with you, and then all of a sudden, like, you being the kid who lived in that neighborhood for a long ass time, you tell all the other little kids, all right, don't play with these two kids that just moved in, and then now all of a sudden your kids don't have no friends. Like, it's just this an analogy, but it's like it kind of goes for everything, I guess, when you talk about like just how decent you're raised and shit. But that's just a
Honestly,
perspective. Yeah, just a
and
perspective.
honestly, if you were raised fucked up, it's all a process of unfucking yourself from like how you've been raised. Like it's
Having that
not
self
easy.
awareness
It's
to do
not
that.
easy.
Yeah,
And if you're willing to put the work in, like the juice is worth the squeeze in that instance. But like a lot of people haven't been willing to put the work in. They just like fall back into the bad habits they were taught and they just learned their entire lives and haven't got out of that their entire lives. I'm no different than a lot of that too. Like I have a lot of bad habits myself that I've learned, but I've also unlearned a lot of bad habits and learned some good habits along the way too. So it's a give and a take, but it's like I said, it's all a process of unfucking yourself if you were growing up like really bad, basically.
True, very true. It's that having that self awareness of wanting to do that as well, wanting to unlearn things and learn new things that you might do better. These are all I guess parts of it. But I don't know. I just sometimes you got to think though. It's like where are you putting your urgency? I guess whether it's in your self betterment, like how you get better each day or whatever, or uh if you're somebody who constantly struggles with trying to get better each day or just kind of continue on the path you've been on, or I don't know, man, all this stuff to me, as I realize, like we kind of have this idea, Trent, where it's like, all right, well, fuck it, we have a forever and a day or whatever, or like we like somebody might express something to us like, hey man, I don't really like when you do this, and then you as that person might continue to do what they don't like, and it's unfortunate. It's like it all depends on where you're putting your like your urgency, like where are you trying to change shit, where are you trying to better shit, because if you don't even have that awareness, Trent, to want to better yourself, then at that point it kind of sucks, because you don't want to just say that that person's lost, but then it's like you're not their parent, so you can't really guide them, and maybe they won't even want your guidance, that's what
But
that.
it but that's the thing, it is their loss. If they refuse to expand their framework or they just don't know enough to expand their framework from what they've known, that's to their detriment. And it really sucks, like to the individual, especially if like they're a loved one or a friend or something like that, or even just you don't know them, it still sucks because these people are stuck in the narrow framework that they've grown up in and they feel comfortable in, and they don't have any need or fucking want to explore outside of that. And that's sad, man, because this is a goddamn big world and there's a lot of things to explore and see and a lot of things to experience. And why limit yourself to what you've known and what you've always known, sort of thing? You know what I mean? Like, why
Yeah,
limit yourself to just that? Like, learn more, like we said, learning more every day, but also not just that, but like be willing to to like be willing to be open to new experiences. That's what I was trying to say.
no, but
Whew,
that's
fucking
that's
weed,
what it is,
man.
though. No, but that's what it is, Trent. But beyond being willing to be open to new experiences, I'm talking about, because granted, those people being lost, it's not about saying like, oh, I'm not even worried about them, as far as to say like, because you can't really save everybody. But I'm talking about from a standpoint of, to the people who quote unquote are conscious or can make those changes, Trent, or are unlearning, like a you or like a me or like a whoever chooses to actually be self-aware. I don't know, man. I'm just, because like I was saying before, like somebody can express like that they don't like doing something, or they don't like when someone does something, and unfortunately it might take 2 or 3 or 4 times of telling that person before they get it. And it's not about trying to control that person, it's more about saying, okay, if me and you are going to engage in something, these are the terms that I'm comfortable doing it, versus we just don't communicate that. And then eventually, if you're constantly engaging with this person, but you guys are constantly butting heads, then all of a sudden it falls apart, and this, that, and the third. That's why it's like, I guess it's like, if you're actually have the ability to change the way you live and be self-aware, Trent, it's like, yeah, man, we gotta, again, I kind of asked the question of where are we putting our urgency, because that's kind of a really important thing, because again, we don't have forever in a day, and a lot of us think we do, and a lot of us kind of wake up thinking like, oh fuck, man, I got a shift tomorrow, man, this is some bullshit. You don't even know if tomorrow's coming. Like, and it's not about saying it on some morbid shit, it's more about saying it on some, where are we putting our enjoyment, where are we showing our, like, how are we living our best lives, so to speak. And it's not about saying it from a weird like you got to be perfect type of thing. I'm talking about just from a, when you wake up, like, are you enjoying your experience? And if you are, hopefully you can continuously like replicate that process, because we don't have forever. And it's like, beyond, not like, it's just, I'm looking at it from a standpoint, again, it's just where are we placing where are we prioritizing like our energy, where are we putting that shit?
Man, I love how you put that, where we placing our urgency. I really enjoy I really, really like how you like worded that. I definitely can say right now where I'm placing a lot of my urgency is not just with doing this podcast and trying to like do other things with this channel that I've just been placing off at this point. But it's just mostly social things, like just not just with my girl, but like with all my friends and stuff around here. Like that's pretty much where I've been putting a lot of my urgency, if we're putting
Yeah.
it that way, into. And
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
that's
Just more
something I'm
energy, I guess,
yeah,
like where are you putting the focus of your energy? I know I'm using the term urgency, but I guess the urgency is more just
the
in the
now.
sense, like, like the like, where, like, are we understanding that our time is urgent? Not saying that you have to be doing everything in a rush, but just more being spontaneous with what you do. But also, like, I don't know. Again, it's just because sometimes you want to say things, but I'm gonna hold back because, again, but it's just one of those things where it's not about thinking about the inevitable. But it's about thinking like, yo, man, I might, if I wake up and choose to sit on my couch for 8 hours watching Netflix and just doing that, okay, you're choosing to do that for that day. No one can look at you and be like, wow, he's wasting his day or she's wasting her day. Because in truth, if that's how you want to enjoy your day, that's what's happening. It's not about trying to save the planet on some type of messiah complex. I'm talking about just, I'm curious when I ask, like, because for example, I know a young lady who, she might always express to me like, oh, I'm working today. I'm working today. I'm working today. I'm like, when are you ever going to take a day off? Oh, like, I'll take a day off in the future. Da, 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 da. Like, I want to work and stack up all the bread right now. Okay, but what happens if, like, for example, we're in September. I'm doing all my vacation time in December. But what happens if December doesn't come in the way you want it to? Like, not saying that anything bad's going to happen to you, but just you go to book that time off, and now all of a sudden December's all booked up, so you can't. Now you have to wait till January or some other time. Life doesn't always happen on your terms and on your plan. That's why I'm saying, like, where are you prioritizing your happiness throughout, like, each day? Granted, you're fortunate to even get another day, right? I don't know. That's what I guess that's kind of like when I ask the question today to the listeners, like that's kind of what I'm asking, because if it's not about, if you want to be smart about it, you can write down these things, people, but so at least you can physically look at something and be like, I'm focused on this. If I'm fortunate to get another day, these are my focuses. Then that's dope as hell, man. Pinpoint that shit, in my opinion. You know?
That's the best advice you can give them right now, man. Like, especially if you're, it makes it more concrete when you have something to like look at and put it on paper, as opposed to just floating around in your head. It's the same when it comes to like ideas and like plans and stuff like that. It becomes real when you put it on paper, because it's before that it's just a thought, but when it's put down into like the concrete material world, that becomes a real thing at that point.
Thanks. Yo, man, but that's what it is. Um, yeah, man, I guess that's kind of all I wanted to get out to the people, as far as just mentioning one, two about like the different cultures in the city, as far as what I be seeing, the good and the bad, the ugly, whatever. And just like, and also on another note, just asking the people, like, what are you prioritizing? Where's the focus of your energy? What's urgent to you? I guess, what is your urgency? Although that might not be a proper question as far as how it's actually said, but I know you guys
It
are all
makes sense
intelligent.
within the context if
That's
the
what I'm saying.
context is
That's
explained.
the context, because that's the beauty of it. Everything, in my opinion, you need the context around it, so you don't have a skewed version of it, I should say.
So
And
basically, it really touches on something I've said a couple times on here, because it really, like I said, this is why it resonated with me. It was like I said, we are trapped in the now. The future and the past are wrapped up in the present, because the present is right happening right now, and the future and the past may not happen if tomorrow doesn't happen or right now stops happening. So it is urgent in that sense. Like, you are in this moment right now, and this moment is happening regardless if you want it to happen or not. It's happening. So it is urgent. So placing that energy is just placing that energy in the urgent situation. So urgency. So where are you placing your urgency? What is your urgency? I like that. It makes sense in that context. If you look
Yeah,
at
bro.
life if you look at life like that, basically.
Because, and that's the thing, don't get me wrong, it's just a perspective. You might be like, well, Graham, not everybody looks at it. Some people, when they wake up, it's just a slow pace, blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm not saying you have to rush when I say urgent. I'm talking about more just the importance. Because I promise you this, if you don't have things that are important to you or that you're trying to accomplish each day, whether it's self-betterment, learning things, unlearning things, etc., you might find yourself having those different anxieties or those different, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, blah, 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 blah. Well, take your time and just one small goal at a time. Write down, hey, I want to learn how to do this better. Hey, I notice I have this problem with myself. Let me see if I can curb that, et cetera, versus just trying to be on some, again, Messiah complex. I want to save the plan. I want to save everything, save everybody. That's not how it works. Small victories each day, my friends. But yo,
Amen.
Trent, I'm gonna let you get back to your evening. We gonna rock out, and you already know what it is. It's always a pleasure talking, man. It's always a pleasure seeing you, man.
Always, man. Always.
I mean, and to the people listening, it's always beautiful. Just remember, live in the now. You know what I mean? Like, just if you're super fortunate to have a now, you're in the be in the moment. You know what I mean? Enjoy that shit. My name's Graham,
I'm Trent.
and we out this month, yo. Another episode, Ultra Fly Talk.